Barkley, Jacobs, Pollard, no deals for these three gentlemen you're looking at right here on screen. These gentlemen who deserve long-term deals, been seeking long-term deals with their prospective teams. Pollard signed his franchise tag a while ago, but was hopeful he'd get a long-term deal worked out with the Dallas Cowboys. That did not happen. 4 p.m. the deadline came, and these guys did not get their deals. Barkley was very close. I've heard definitely, some moments where it felt like it was going to get done, and Barkley tweeted out this shortly after everything went down. He said, "It is what it is." Barkley, very, very disappointing that Barkley did not get his long-term deal. Now, right now, he's going to sit out. He's not reporting right now. They're expecting to get him later in the summer. Jacobs is in full holdout mode, more so than Barkley, but they're both in a position where they're like, we're pissed off right now. We're going to make a little bit of a statement. We're going to put up a little bit of a stink. But I'm going to talk to you why I think this was a huge mistake for Barkley not to sign the deal that was sitting in front of him. He wanted more, and I don't think he's going to get what he expected to get in this negotiation. He's not going to get it at 27 years old. So was it a mistake for Barkley to take a stand for what? Nothing's going to change. And we can talk about how corrupt the running back pay system is in the NFL, because it is. These running backs are getting blasted. But it is what it is. Barkley's own words. And so if I was him, I wouldn't have sat this one out. I'll tell you that right now. Jacobs, Barkley, Pollard, the Fantasy Football Show begins now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
So, I don't know really where to begin other than let's throw some respect on these guys' on their names and say that these deals should have gotten done. These teams should have paid these RBs. I want to open it up saying that RBs are completely disrespected in the NFL and they need to get paid better. Something needs to be looked at, in terms of all this. The problem though, to swing back into, I don't want to say a negative direction for the RB, is to say, though, like Barkley, his own words, it is what it is. You're not going to make a change or spark a change in a situation right now where you're potentially in your final years of being able to grab a hold of some sort of cash and get a bag. And Barkley's being offered I don't want to say it was a fair amount in his eyes, but it was in the $13 to $14 million mark. How much of it was guaranteed is unknown. That could be the sticking point that we don't have information on. But Barkley's going to walk into a harsh reality in 2024. Even if he leads the league in rushing, which this man did right here, he can't get a long-term deal. Okay? Tony Pollard, as explosive as he looked, they say let's franchise tag him. Running backs are expendable. Whether we like it or not, the NFL looks at it that way, and they're not really going to change. I believe this stat right here, which is crazy. I'm not sure if this is the one. Yeah, by Adam Schefter. With no long-term deals for Barkley, Jacobs, and Pollard, the last time a running back signed a long-term contract worth over $10 million or more per year was Nick Chubb in 2021. So since Nick Chubb, we have not had a player sign more than $10 million a year on a long-term deal. And Barkley was being offered about $13.5 to $14.5 million per year. How much, again, was guaranteed, I don't know, and that could have been, like I said, the sticking point. But if he thinks he's going to walk into his 27-year-old season after this 2023 season plays out, so next offseason, he'll be 27 years old. If he thinks he's going to walk into that season and get more than he's being offered right now, I don't think he is. The only thing that could make sense to me, and I get this, and it will be more money. It'll be $10 million more, right? Think about Barkley. If Barkley does make it out of 2023 unscathed and has a great year, such a good year that the team probably even considers franchise tagging him again because he doesn't escape franchise tag threat 2024. Him not signing this deal doesn't make him immune to the franchise tag in 2024. He can be franchise tagged in 2024, Saquon Barkley. and it would come at a greater cost. Usually teams don't want to franchise tag a player 2 years in a row because it is very costly. It's about 120% the previous franchise tag amount. So it would be a much more significant, probably around $15 million. $14 million, I'd imagine, for Barkley, just spitballing that number. But that's how much it would cost to probably franchise tag Barkley next year, maybe $13 or $14 million, depending on the contract amounts. And look, that's probably not going to happen, but it could happen. And so Barkley's not avoiding that. The only thing Barkley could get out of this, if you think about it logically, is he plays out this year, he balls out enough to not get franchise tagged again, but enough to earn exactly the kind of offer he was seeking this offseason, and he gets the $10 million plus that new reset, $3 million deal. Like that's what he's hopeful of getting. So he would essentially get $10 million, and then now he can come in and get his 2 to 3 year deal on $15 million or whatever, $14 million a pop. So at the end of the day, he could be $10 million richer if he just does this deal next year. If he did the deal now, he's not getting a $10 million deal in the back end. Therefore, he's going to get his $2 or 3 year deal now if he signed it. No extra 10 mil, whereas he could get 10 million now, do his 2 or 3 year deal after, and essentially be $10 million richer. The problem with that thinking, though, is that he's got to walk out of 2023 unscathed. He's got to walk out of 2023 with the right amount of balling out so that he can get a big deal, and not balling out so much that the team's like, we're franchise tagging you yet again. Now, they may give him his long-term deal next offseason if he goes out there and scores 15 touchdowns, has 1,500 yards rushing, leads the league in rushing, and has a baller year. But I just think that this has the potential to end very badly for a guy that will be 27 years old, that had the ACL tear. He knows what it's like to go through all that rehab, and the guy plays at 120,000%. So I think it was a mistake. If I was Barkley's agent, I would have said, Barkley, let's, maybe they tried. Build in some incentives that were similar to Hopkins. I mean, they probably tried. I'm not saying I know that they tried and they failed, but this is the kind of stuff that would have made me push this over the edge. Okay, you're not going to give me what I want per year. Give me some sort of benchmark. And maybe these were built in. And Barkley still said no because he wanted to stand on principle. But standing on principle, turning 27 as an RB in an environment where RBs aren't even respected by the NFL or teams, I don't know how he's going to win this battle. And so, signing a $14 million per year deal would have probably been the best move. But again, we don't know the whole details of the contract. But now, Jacobs was probably never going to get a respectable deal. I'm sure they took some stabs at it. I'm sure he was lowballed. And it sucks for Jacobs. As much as I talk about not drafting Jacobs, I want to first start off by saying this guy had an amazing year last year. He led the league in rushing. He deserved a shot and opportunity to go get his one big deal that he was going to be able to go get, and the team slapped a prison tag on him, which is what the players call inside the NFL an inside nickname for the franchise tag by the players. They call it the prison tag, and this guy was slapped with the franchise tag, so he was incapable of going out and getting the bag that he so deservedly earned, and it sucks for Jacobs. I do acknowledge that. They pigeonholed him. They put him in a box and they said, you're playing on the franchise tag at $10.1 million. Now this guy has a far less likely chance of going and balling out this year than this guy. This guy gets to play in an offense, I think, that can surprise. This guy gets a chance, I think, to lead the league in rushing this year. And this guy's going to face 8-man front after 8-man front. And he's so upset and pissed off that he's playing in a situation where Jimmy G's the quarterback. He's not signing his franchise tag. Now, either is he, but I think he's just mad in the moment. He will return. This guy's not holding out. This guy's smarter than that. He's not going to sit on the shelf and not make $10.1 million and come in next year and have cobwebs on him. Have people say, okay, this is a guy that had an ACL tear. Now he's just going to take off a year. The rust will be a factor. There's no way he can enter 27 years old, taking a full year off and get the market value he thinks he's going to get. So I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's likely that he's playing for another team in 2024 by sitting out the entire season. And Jacobs, I don't know how far he's going to take this. He can only take it so far. Both these guys can only take it so far. The reason they can take it a little further right now is because they're not obligated to sign the tag this very moment. They will at a certain point need to move forward, or if they do hold out, what happens is when they start accruing fines or the potential fines, they're just going to take that right out of what they're going to make when they finally sign and come in. So they're going to accrue millions of dollars in fines, sign their $10.1 million deal, and get that, whittled down to like $7 million, $6 million. I think they're just going to prove a point as long as they can prove it, make things uncomfortable for their teams. But the problem is that the longer you hold out, the more likely you are to suffer some sort of injury. I'm not as concerned yet. Could I get concerned about this? I could. And there's a couple comments that said, Smitty, aren't you worried about him holding out? I'm not too worried right now, but could I get there? Absolutely. I mean, the longer they hold out, especially a running back, the longer anybody holds out this franchise tag, the longer that both of these guys hold out, the more likely they are to suffer injury during the 2023 NFL season. Now, Pollard signed his franchise tag right away, in hopes that the team would come around and say, hey, look, we want to lock you down so you don't go nuts on us, and then we got to overpay you. We'll give you a long-term deal. He was hopeful. It never felt like it was likely to happen, and he was the least likely of the three to get a long-term deal. Jacobs was the second least likely to get a long-term deal, and Barkley was the most likely to get a long-term deal. But as I mentioned here in this little tweet here from Adam Schefter, with no long-term deals for all three of these guys, Barkley, Jacobs, and Pollard, the last running back to sign a long-term deal worth $10 million or more per season was Nick Chubb in 2021. Now, what does this mean for the RB? Does the RB change into a wide receiver like Gibbs and somehow get paid on a different pay scale? Is that potentially the solution? Does a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs qualify for more money after 2 or 3 seasons of being one of the most electric pass catchers in the National Football League from a running back position? Can it go down to snaps? How many snaps do you get as a wide receiver? How many receptions do you get? Maybe that's the solution. Maybe you're paid like a wide receiver the moment you pull in 55 plus receptions as an RB. But then do teams stop using their RB in the receiving game? This is just an endless, incapable of being policed situation. And at some point, as much as we hate it, as much as we feel like it's not right, it is what it is in terms of, and this is his words, not mine, it is what it is in terms of the market is being set by the market. And as much as it feels like, oh, they're getting screwed out of money when other players are getting paid big, Hopkins gets this massive deal with huge incentives. Hopkins' deal yesterday was absolutely monstrous when you think about it. Hopkins getting his where's this? Let me see the contract numbers here. It was a 2-year, $26 million deal with $3 million available incentives each year. So if Hopkins gets 65 receptions, he gets $250K. He gets 85 receptions, he gets $75K. He gets $1 million at 95 receptions. He gets $1 million at 1050 yards. He gets $1 million at 10 TDs. He gets $3 million per season if he gets to 95 catches, 1050 receiving, and 10 touchdowns. And that contract to me, if I was Barkley, would have made me run to the table and sign a $14.5 million per year deal as an RB that's getting disrespected, as an RB where we haven't seen an RB sign a long-term deal over $10 million per season since Nick Chubb. I would have run to the table and said, you know what, me signing any sort of $15 million or $14 million a season deal actually does good for the running back market right now, because we haven't had a $10+ million running back since 2021 Nick Chubb. So, is $14.5 million really that disrespectful? Were they not even giving him that? Was that a rumor? Do we have confirmation? We don't know exactly what Barkley's offer was on the table. We've heard rumors. We've heard 13.5. We've heard 14. How much was guaranteed? Some of these details we don't know, so it's hard to judge him too harshly. But at the end of the day, I don't think there are any white doves or flowers or roses or cookies waiting for him on the other side of this. I think that, potentially this was a grave mistake for for Barkley to pass on. I'm going to take your phone calls in just a minute. Josh Jacobs, again, more likely to hold out longer, in my opinion. Barkley, I think Barkley's frustrated. I don't blame him, but I think part of him, he needs to look. I think part of him is going to regret not taking this deal. I don't think he's getting what he thinks is waiting for him in 2024, but we'll have to see. Pollard, I still love all these guys in terms of talent. I hate his situation, Jacobs, and I think his situation is going to end the worst because I don't know that he's going to have near the same season at all with the 8-man fronts and Jimmy Garoppolo trying to move the chains. And remember, Jacobs said that he would sign the franchise tag if they brought in like Aaron Rodgers, if they reloaded. He would gladly, I believe the words were somewhere along the lines of he would happily sign the franchise tag if they were going to go for a championship. The moment they signed Jimmy G, he said, I'm not signing my franchise tag. Him and Adams both have verbalized they don't agree with the direction that the team's taking things, and they don't want to play for Jimmy G necessarily, not necessarily Jimmy G, but they don't want to play for a quarterback that is not capable of winning long term. And by long term, I mean the season long. This guy, could he win a game? Sure, but they don't believe in Jimmy G. That's why they didn't sign the franchise tag. He would have signed it if Aaron Rodgers had came to Las Vegas to play football. Pollard, I think, has a phenomenal year. I think if he gets hurt, he's in trouble. His dynasty value is volatile because if he does get injured again, he will probably not have a starting job and a big-time salary waiting him 2024. So a long-term deal was critical for Pollard's dynasty value. It's not essential, but it was a critical, nice little added piece to build into his dynasty value if he did end up getting a long-term deal, because then his job's safe. If he went out there on a 2 or 3 year deal, worth, let's say, $13 million a year, and Pollard walked in to 2023, 2024, and 2025 on a contract, he's going to be more likely to be the starter no matter what happens. If he gets banged up and misses 5 games, if he misses the final 4 weeks of the season, if something else more catastrophic happened, he would get a shot to start again. If he gets injured this year on the franchise tag, nothing's awaiting him, and no team's going to come knocking and put him in a starting job in 2024 free agency if he's unable to stay healthy this year. So it's a little bit of a risk with him long term, but I love him in 2023, and I do love him long term as well. It just comes with some risk you got to be accepting of. Barkley, he's the most likely of these 3 guys to get his deal eventually next year, but it's not the kind of thing that you can bank on. So I'm going to take phone calls right now and answer super chats. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
The show, and we'll discuss these gentlemen right here. Very curious to know what some of you think. Let me check the super chats and make sure I didn't miss any. I sure did. Rockout came in hot. Smitty added again. Breaking news. Appreciate you, Rockout. Let's go.
Mashed potatoes!
We got Marty calling in. Marty, you're live, pal. What can I do for you? What are you thinking? What's going through your mind right now, Marty boy?
Well, right now I had a question about I'm in a 16-man league, and they spun the wheel. I got put in the 15th spot.
Okay. 15. It's a 16-man league.
16-man league. I'm 15 out of 2 running back, 2 receiver, flex tight end,
2 running back, 2 receiver, flex tight end, and 1 quarterback.
Yeah, and then
okay.
Yeah.
So let quarterback ride. Let quarterback ride because there are a significant number of quarterbacks. This changes the landscape a little bit when you're playing in a 16-man league. I don't know that I'd go early quarterback necessarily. I think you could still get a T Law, maybe even Fields slips to you in your 3rd round pick. But I would draft him earlier because your rounds are longer. So you clearly, like, if you get Fields in round 3 or T Law, you need to jump on that. But I think overall, you just want to take that best player available, bro. You don't want to be drafting around position, chasing position. If you get there and you got to take in your 2nd round, you got to take Jahmyr Gibbs because it's equivalent to like a 3.4. What's your 2nd round pick? What is the actual pick number? 20 what?
My 2nd round pick, it would be like 19 probably.
Oh, really?
15.
Okay, you're 15. Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. You already told me what your draft slot was. You said you're drafting 15 out of 16? Yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. So you got nice, close, almost bookend picks there. So you're talking about like Olave and Brees Hall. You're talking about a pretty balanced approach you could deploy.
Well,
You
like
know?
usually, like in our
This is
like the
Maddie.
mock draft I do,
Yeah.
it's not in best ball. I remember you told me one time you're like why don't you do best ball? Because I do in the fantasy app or whatever. But our league's in the fantasy, and usually I can like the 3 players around that area. You have Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, and Brees Hall. Usually fall there.
Amon-Ra, Brees Hall, yeah, Olave, St. Brown, Garrett Wilson could fall. Jahmyr Gibbs is a little early. Like you said, you got that early pick in round 2. I would say your 3rd round pick, one person had a good idea in here. Fantasy Dad says, what about AJ Brown and Hurt stack? I mean, that wouldn't be horrible, but I'm not so worried about stacking because it's not best ball. So it sounds great to stack it, but it doesn't get you one single advantage. Let's see here. I would say you just gotta pick that best player, bro. Don't even think about position. I know it's easy to think about position in a 16-man league, but if you come out balanced out of that first 2 rounds, you're gonna be eventually drafting against traffic at some point because everyone's gonna be scrambling. So like, what could you get Fields in round 3?
I can get Fields. Usually I can get I don't know. I don't like the fantasy mock draft is all like I don't know. It's all weird, but I can get like 3rd and 4th round. I can get Kenneth Walker and Fields.
Bro, if you can get Walker, Fields, and then get St. Brown and Garrett Wilson, that'd be amazing. If you get St. Brown and Brees Hall and Walker and Fields, you're in a 16-team league. You're just walking straight to the bank. So
do you think?
I would use that as my loosely based strategy. I wouldn't say you stick to that no matter what, but you walk out with like Wilson, Olave, or St. Brown and Olave, or St. Brown and whatever. You'll be walking straight to the bank. Cause
which one's the best combination though? Like Wilson and Amon-Ra, or is that the best one?
Wilson, Amon-Ra is probably the best you could get, I imagine, at 16 or 15 and 18, right? 15 and 18. Yeah, that's the best you're going to get, and I highly doubt you get that. But if you get that, you walk straight to the bank, young man. Especially if you think you can get Kenneth Walker and Justin Fields. The other kind of crafty approach you can take is maybe you go wide receiver, Fields, and then I would get Walker. If Walker's there, I'd get Walker. If Gibbs is there, I'd get Gibbs. I would be tempted to take Gibbs in the 3rd round and try and steal Fields in that next round. And if you couldn't get T. Law, that's something to entertain. But Walker and Fields is phenomenal.
Usually usually Gibbs doesn't fall that low. He usually goes I would say like beginning 3rd round.
Be careful on those ESPN mocks. You might get your hopes up and not get it. Okay, hey, let's jump onto these topics here. Barkley, where do you value Barkley right now, Maddie? Call in if you guys want to ask a question.
I like Gibbs a little more. I'd say I'd put him at like 5 or 4.
You like Gibbs more than Barkley? I can't blame you, but you're definitely not going to have to pay that price tag, by the way. But what I think I want to talk about in a video tonight, and I'm going to get there, is more so the impact of what this guy is doing here in round number 4, and also what Derrick Henry is doing to everybody else, because Derrick Henry is climbing up draft boards like crazy. I'm going to have a separate video on this specific topic, so we'll get into it just briefly here because I'm going to save it for the content in the video I'm going to do on this. But Derrick Henry has gone from a 3rd round pick climbing into the top of 2, and I wouldn't be surprised if some people were taking him at the turn. And what that's going to do is shove Gibbs down a little more. What that's going to do is shove Christian Watson down a little more. It's going to shove Kenneth Walker clearly into the 4th round and maybe even into the top of 5, almost locked in. Burrow's going to be almost cemented in the 4th round. Hopkins is also taking part in this. So Hopkins and Derrick Henry are doing some nice cementing of ADPs for us. And I think this is going to jostle ADP data in a very, very, very positive way. Barkley is probably heading to, if I had to guess, I think he's heading to the bottom of round 2. I think people are going to be worried enough about Barkley that he's going to fall all the way to the bottom of round 2. No, Smitty, we swerve Henry. That's right, Mile High. So this is the Henry climb and the Hopkins climb are the best things that could have ever happened to our community. The best things that could have ever happened to our community, because all of our ballers here potentially fall below these guys. Maybe Gibbs still goes above Hopkins, but I think Hopkins might drop Burrow and Watson and London and definitely Walker and just give us a whole lot of opportunity. I'm hoping Hopkins locks into like the top of round 4, but we'll have to see. And I hope Walker stays in 5. It's going to be crazy, man. It's the best thing that's ever happened to our community this offseason. Henry and Hopkins and where those values are going. Let's go over to the Patrick real quick. Maddie, hang tight. Patrick, what's up?
No fault, man. I had you on mute. I'm in.
What's up?
Man, first off, I know this was your show the other day when you broke the Hopkins news. I completely 100% agree with you that, like, I'm still not drafting Hopkins.
I'm not.
I love what it does for Okonkwo, though.
Yeah, what it does for Okonkwo, what it does for all the players I just named. I mean, Hopkins landing. I didn't even really realize how impacting it would be to the other players until I started looking at some early mock draft data, doing an early draft on Underdog Fantasy. And if you guys want to draft tomorrow night, we're drafting on Underdog Fantasy tomorrow night. Promo code Smitty. Link is in the description of the video. The link is, I can drop the link right now for everybody if you want to make sure you sign up ahead of time, because you won't get in if you don't hit this link early. So please hit that link right now. Let me pin it right now in the live chat. But honestly, I didn't think that things would get this crazy. I didn't think things would get this crazy across the board for all these other players and these ADPs based on this news. It just didn't really resonate quite yet how it would all get jostled around. But Hopkins climbing to, has anybody, Andy's on the line, Maddie's on the line, and the Patrick's on the line. Have you guys gotten a sense of where Hopkins has climbed up to, or have you not really felt the ADP climb yet? Does anybody have an example in the recent draft they did where Hopkins climbed into like 4.1 or 4.2? Do any one of you guys have an example?
I don't in Underdog, but on to not name any other settings, he's going right in 5. He seems to be going right in 5 in the 2 other formats that I'm drafting.
Yeah, I think he'll climb into 4 easily, but I think that makes Walker a 5th round, top of 5th round staple, or at least 4.10 to 4.11, 4.12, 5.1, 5.2 staple. That makes amazing. Yeah. That makes Walker an amazing value. But Henry climbing up from, where was Henry? Probably 3.1 to 3.5. That's probably where Henry was. So Henry's moving Garrett Wilson potentially down. He's moving St. Brown potentially down. Maybe. We'll see where Henry climbs to. But he's moving Breece Hall down. He's moving Tony Pollard down. Tony Pollard was a guy, now that we're on the topic of Tony Pollard, let's go back to the screen real quick. Tony Pollard was a guy that was going in the middle of round 2 to late round 2. Now with Derrick Henry climbing, we may just see Tony Pollard fall into round number 3, because Tony Pollard was borderline 2, going in 2 periodically and sometimes in 3, but Henry's going to replace him, because it isn't like a guy climbs up and then everybody just stays where they're at. Everybody gets jostled down and moved around. And when a player moves on ADP rankings in the running back category or the wide receiver category or the tight end or quarterback category, they don't just move one ADP slot overall. They move one running back slot and that transitions to about 3 or 4 overall ADP slots because you have quarterbacks and tight ends and everybody in the mix. So if this guy was running back, X, and now he becomes running back Y overall, that will be considered in all different, settings differently. And so this guy who had a second round price tag, and we've had a couple people in here, like Ron Navy, for example, that didn't like him in the second round. And last night I asked him, do you like him in the third round? If let's say Henry climbs from the third round into the top of 2 and bumps Pollard into round 3, do you now like Tony Pollard? And he said yes. We got a 757 caller. Who's this? You're live on the show.
How you doing?
Mr. Meat? Mr. Meat?
Yeah, Meat. Yeah, Meat.
What's up, Meat?
Hey, what's going on? It's me. I'm watching you live, man. I just wanted to throw an idea out there. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. Do you think the reason why the NFL is devaluing these running backs, because if you look at it from a statistical standpoint, that's who's getting most of the injuries, is the running back position.
Well, I mean, certainly that is why the teams are going the route they're going. Like that is 100% the main reason.
Right.
It's also so that's why I said earlier when Saquon Barkley said this right here, he said it is what it is. He's almost making the argument that is really the true argument. The truest argument here is that you can only do so much, to change this. You can't go walking into the pay structures and just like being unfair to the other positions to an extreme degree. Like you can maybe structure in some sort of like franchise tagging can't happen with RBs or, running backs, something with rookie contracts. Maybe they've got different, they can't have a 5th year option. There could be something that they can add to it that doesn't make it extremely, extremely unfair. But you can't just say RBs get paid more. Teams don't have to sign an RB, and teams don't have to. They'll just not draft RBs. I think what ultimately has to happen is that these RBs have to become more long-lasting. It's up to the RB, so like in terms of like a Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, maybe Jahmyr Gibbs can play elite. That type of running back, even though he's smaller, he's going to be playing potentially at 29 years old instead of 27 years old at an elite level if they're playing him at wide receiver way more than they're playing him at running back. Look at Jerick McKinnon as an example. Jerick McKinnon's 31? Isn't he 31 years old?
31.
Yeah, Jerick McKinnon's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't think he'd hold up as a full-time running back at 31, but look how good and fresh he still looks like. When you're an RB playing wide receiver a majority of the time, that probably will be what a lot of the RBs maybe transition to. And maybe we see a lot of the bigger backs 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now not necessarily be as plentiful. Because, a lot of dads in Pop Warner, it's going to take a lot of years to resonate. But a lot of dads in Pop Warner are going to turn to their son and go, you don't want to play running back, son. You're not going to get paid anything. And so, like, how is it going to deteriorate the position? There'll always be RBs. Everything's a cycle. But the more running backs get hurt and the more you have ACL tears and the more you have big dollar amounts being committed to an RB and then having it go to waste, the more a team's going to rightfully say, I'm not investing a lot of money in an RB if they're not going to hang around. The problem I have, bro, is that Barkley is proving right now how valuable he is. He's not injured right now. He's one of the hardest workers in the National Football League. And he's sitting here deserving what he's asking for. And it's not like he's getting paid a crazy amount. He's getting probably wanting $16 million a year. He'd probably be a third year would be team friendly. So it's probably something along the lines of like $32 to $35 million that are essentially not fully guaranteed, but pretty much all achievable. That's what he wants. And Hopkins is getting $26 million with $3 million. I don't know. I think Barkley should have signed it. I don't think Barkley's getting what he thinks in 2024.
I agree with you.
To me, it seems like the NFLPA just.
Hold on. Let's let. Go ahead. Go ahead, Meat.
The NFLPA, they just hung him out to dry.
My only other point is that, remember, Barkley's been hurt the last 2 years over the course of his last 4 years in the league. As far as Jacobs is concerned, he's dealing with New England, a former New England coach. Remember, the Patriots do not keep running backs typically over 4 years. At the 4-year mark, they let them go get somebody else.
And
so Jacobs dealing with the same kind of coach like that, he's not going to get that deal. Just a year previous to that, they was talking about getting rid of him anyway. So I don't know why he's making a big deal about signing his franchise tag, considering they gave him a shot last year and fed him handsomely.
Yeah,
I think Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard to get his money in the end. Like you said, he got to stay healthy though.
He's got to.
Because if he don't, then he's looking at nothing by 2024.
Jacobs is screwed in that he's going to have a really rough year comparatively to last year, and there's no way he's going to get what he could have got. Like, everybody can say what they want. Like, Smitty, you're against Jacobs, he'll do fine. You'll see. But I almost promise you that I can almost guarantee you that he will not get what he could have got if he was able to go out and search coming off of a season league-leading rushing, yardage type of season. He's not going to see the efficiency that he did last year with the stretch field with Derek Carr just throwing missiles to Devontae Adams, regardless of wins and losses. So this is going to end very, very badly for Jacobs. Pollard, it's all in Pollard's hands whether he can create, destiny. He's in control of his own destiny. He's got to stay healthy and ball out. That's good, though. In a way, for redraft, this is kind of good for us because we know Pollard's going to do whatever it takes. And so that's kind of nice. We don't want him to get hurt and overdo it, but at the same time, he's got to be hungry because if he's not getting a deal. So Pollard's going to have good 2023 instead of Barkley. Same thing. The problem with Barkley is Barkley always plays 100%, and he plays 110%. And the likelihood of injury for him, and maybe this goes back to, hey, how can you get mad at the team when you're essentially telling me, Smitty, that you're afraid he's going to go get hurt and not be able to get his long-term deal? Well, that's why we're not paying him, Smitty. You know what I mean? So I get it, and that's why I say that teams can't really be too hard on teams because they're playing within the confines of the system. And the system allows them to go short-term with running backs, cycle them in, and until you get a Bijan, until you get a player that you feel like you want to pay early on in their career. Barkley does qualify as that player, but he does have many years, in the rear view, respectively, and a big injury, so it makes it harder to throw him into the Bijan category. Get Bijan, but Bijan, if Bijan comes out of his rookie or his rookie deal heading into his, 5th-year option, and they say we're going to extend him, he's had no significant injuries, he'll get his bag, I think. But it's going to be rare for a running back to come off of their first, especially with their first-round running back, which is maybe, maybe not going to happen like it did this year, next year. We don't really know. But I don't think players are going to come off their 4th year heading into their 5th-year option and be able to get this 3 or 4 year deal. It sucks. It is what it is. Hold on, let's go over to
last thing, man.
Go ahead,
last thing, Smitty, I want to say I love your show, man. I be watching you, all your shows live. I watch everything, man. You're doing a great job, man. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your show.
Thank you, Mr. Meat. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir. You have a good one now.
Mr. Meats, right? All right, later.
Yes, sir. Later.
We got the meats. When Meats calls in, we got the meats in the building. Andy, you're live.
Yeah, the players' union, I think, really screwed these players pretty bad. That's what the union is for, to protect them. They should have definitely had this set up. When I saw Jeff Saturday going in there with that lawyer, I knew it was going to be bad for the players. And here we go.
Yeah. The problem is, drop a meat emoji in the live chat. Everybody loves Meats. Meats is a good dude. I think that the problem is, and I don't mean to sound callous with this, but people are only going to care so much about this. These guys are getting paid $10 million. Like, boo-hoo. Like how much sadder can we get that these guys are all getting paid $10.1 million this year? Like when you think about it, the franchise tag is in place for a reason, compensate them fairly. They're getting paid the top 5, top 10, depending on different tags in the NFL. You know, so like in a case of like a quarterback or in the case of Barkley getting the average of the top 5, RB salaries, like are we really all that offended that they're getting paid like one of the best running backs in the National Football League, but just on 1 year? Like it is kind of set up to protect the running back. The only thing is what we're saying here, and we're ultimately fighting against our own argument in a way. Like I go back and forth on this topic a little bit because I don't think it's really cut and dry. It's got some gray area to it, but it's like if these running backs are all that worried about getting injured and playing on this 1 year deal, that's why the teams are concerned giving them the deals. You know what I mean? So it's like I understand where a team's coming from.
Yeah, but a lot of these guys aren't Barkley either, and they're not filthy rich, and they're out there, and you know what I mean? A lot of their money goes, for other things.
I know, but you're getting paid 10, but you're getting paid 10.
And they should have a fair shot, and the running back position is totally different than other positions.
Yeah, but so it is a $10.1 million deal.
The owners just played the union like a fiddle in that negotiation.
I mean, they did, but it's top 5. But it's top 5 salary. Like, what can you really say? The only thing I would say is that, like, maybe there needs to be some sort of, like, I don't know. This is just, I'm spitballing here. I'm not sure what the solution is. Maybe if a player gets franchise tagged, like, there's some sort of ability they have to extend it themselves for the second year or something. You know what I mean? Like, if you're getting franchise tagged and you had the ability to say, I want it to be a 2-year, then the team wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I think the problem is if Barkley knew he was going to get something at the end of this for sure, if he knew he was going to get franchise tag at least next year as well, guaranteed, then he'd be getting $10.1 million for, like, I'm not saying he would necessarily do it, but if he knew he could extend that or exercise that or something, then he would feel more comfortable playing on the $10.1 million tag too. But like, I just don't understand how you can resolve it. There's no way to resolve it because it markets itself. It polices itself. And it is what it is. Barkley said it himself. Those are the best words I could have used. It is what it is. You either ball out and get a long-term deal, become so valuable that a team's like, we can't live without you, or you're not going to probably get, what some of these other players are getting, and that's just the nature of the position. It sucks. It is what it is.
It's a strange thing when Devontae Parker gets whatever, 11, 12 million a year, and because
that's on the team.
If you were Barkley, would you sign this? Would you sign this $10 million deal if you were Barkley?
If I was Barkley, I would have signed. If I was Barkley, I would have signed the $14 million 3-year deal, whatever was being offered to him. I mean, we have to be shown the exact number because maybe there's something that is going to make me step back. But from what I've heard, they were very much meeting in the middle ground area, and Barkley just wanted to get paid $16 million per year is what I heard. Maybe the guarantees weren't what we thought they were, and for that reason I have to hold a little bit of my opinion back instead of saying like Barkley screwed up entirely. I just think that Barkley's going to regret this because if he gets injured, he's not getting what he could have got today next year. Like I know in his mind, like,
that's it.
But hold on, here's what he's thinking, and I don't blame him. He's thinking, if I sign a 3-year deal today, I'm not getting another $10 million at the back end of it. No one's signing me to a 1-year, $10 million deal 4 years from now. Okay, so that 3 to 4 year window, he wants to start it 1 year later. So he wants to get paid $10 million this year, then sign his $15 million a year 3-year deal after on the backside. But the problem is, it's not going to work out that way because he'll be 27. If he goes into next offseason, guess what he's going to get? Essentially a 2-year deal. So right now he could probably get that 3-year deal. And I don't know the exact terms of the deal he was being offered at the end in the 11th hour. But if you could negotiate a 3-year deal now, at the end of the day, you're getting 14. Let's say you're getting 14 million even for guaranteed at 2 years, and you have some sort of banking on yourself, piece into that. And it probably is a team friendly 3rd-year deal, but maybe he was able to get 3 years, fully guaranteed, or not fully guaranteed, but 3 years with incentives that he can reach. I just don't know why he thinks he can get that at 27, because the same offer won't be there. The same offer will not be there next year because no one's going to give him a 3 or 4 year deal at 27 years old. Eckler can't even get his own team to extend him.
And goes out and plays. they run you into the dirt.
Yeah, and
Just like
that's
they did with Jacobs last year. Last year of his contract, run him into the dirt.
yeah. What's going on here? Space Ricky, what are you doing? I see. Hold on. I saw Space Ricky. What are you doing? Okay? He must have hit the wrong button. I think Space Ricky was putting Swaggy in timeout or something. What happened there, Space Ricky? He accidentally hit the wrong button. Okay, be careful in there, Space Ricky. Okay. That cap is gonna go up, says Ghost. That's the other thing too. Okay, everyone needs to realize salaries are gonna go up over the course of the next 2 years. Every single year, every single 2 years, the cap goes up by about 20% roughly. Okay, so I feel like at the end of the day, if somehow Barkley does escape injury, balls out, but not so much that they franchise tag him again, and the Giants could franchise tag him again. They could franchise tag him again at the end of all this. If he escapes injury, then there's a good chance Barkley, may still get a very nice 2-year deal and still get that $10 million this year, and it ends up working out for him. I'm not saying it can't work out for him. A lot of people said Lev Bell, it all worked out for Lev Bell, but it didn't work out for Lev Bell. Lev Bell held out. Okay, didn't get his $10 million, or I think it was, at the time it was like $14 million. I forget what it was for Lev Bell. He didn't get his $14 million. Then he signed a $20 million deal. Everyone's like, see, he held out, didn't play for $12 million, but got 20, Smitty. Yeah, but if he played on the franchise tag, maybe he would have got hurt. Maybe he wouldn't have. He would have had $10 million plus the $20 million. He would have walked away with $30 plus million. That's the whole point here. Is Barkley, at the end of the day, Barkley can't sit out. He can't sit out. If teams are devaluing running backs like they are right now, does anybody really think a team's going to say, hey, there's a guy that didn't put any miles on last year. He's got cobwebs all over him. There's rust all over him. Let's throw him out there. Had an ACL tear. He sat out the entire season. Hasn't played football in a full year. Throw him out onto the field. No one's gonna sign Barkley to a 3 or 4 year deal after sitting out an entire season, turning 27 years old. So I have zero concerns about him really holding out during the season. My main concern will be, how long does he hold out? How long does he hold out? Because if he holds out too long, he runs the risk of injury. I don't care if he's working out, pulling tractors with his teeth. I don't care if he's doing, push-ups on rubber bands with weights around his neck and chains. Doesn't matter. He needs to be out on the football field, cutting, using his knees, shifting, twisting, doing things on the field, on the turf, on the grass. He needs to be out there with his teammates, getting in a rhythm. Look at Deebo Samuel. How much out of tune and out of sync Deebo was. He blamed Shanahan and had underhanded comments about, we put it behind us, but he really blames his bad season. And you could say Deebo needs to just take responsibility for it. And he kind of did. He says he never wants to put that kind of pitiful film back on another piece of film room tape again. But he does blame that he was out of sync. He wasn't in there in tune. And so Barkley's got to be careful, because if Barkley's fighting for a contract next year, Barkley can't afford to go in and get hurt. Barkley can't afford to go in and be out of sync. Barkley can't afford to go in and not have a full volume because he's been sitting out and they're building around it and saying, you know what? Well, they're not going to take away Barkley's carries necessarily, but you got to show up. So I think he's smart enough to know that. I think he's smart enough to know he's a little bit upset right now. He's going to be a little upset. Give him a couple days. I wouldn't be shocked if Barkley did not even really hold out much at all, to sign the tag and get in there. Because as soon as he signs it, he could get fined if he doesn't show up. So right now he's just kind of sitting. Okay, I'm sitting. I'm pissed off. It is what it is. Give him time. Give him time. A lot of people are reporting he won't show up to camp now. He's fully expected to not show up or show up in even August. Let the dust settle. This guy's a smart man. He's going to come to work. He's going to prove that they made the mistake, and he's going to come out firing in 2023. But we still have to wait until that happens before we can put all full confidence into him having a very, very healthy season. This man right here feels a little bit more perturbed and upset. And I wouldn't be shocked if both of them showed up at the same time, but I wouldn't be shocked that this man actually took it a lot longer to the point of almost no return, and then shows up, because Jacobs is pissed off. He doesn't want to be there. he doesn't want to be there, and he's begging for a long-term deal because he's scared to death he's going to go out and get smashed and not get anything at the end of the rainbow. This guy right here has been a model citizen, Tony Pollard. Signed his deal, was hopeful the team would extend him, but he's still going to work. And he understands his value. He's got a lot to prove. He can't really have the luxury of saying, I rush for a league-leading rushing yard total. Give me the big fat deal. He got injured last year, his really only big unleashing year. So he didn't have much, no pun intended, a real leg to stand on in terms of this situation. Barkley is going to be pissed off. Give him time. He'll bounce back. Isaac dropping a $20 hauler. Hold on, gentlemen. Hold on 1 second. I gotta punch this button.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Isaac, my guy, dropping it large here tonight. We live in a world where Baker Mayfield has the opportunity to be a starting QB on 4 teams in the past 3 years, and nobody batted an eye. But running back ones get bad deals or locked on bad teams. NFL is going down like the NBA, says Isaac. Isaac is not happy. Appreciate your super chat, Isaac. All right, let me head over to D-Class real quick. D-Class, you're live. What can I do for you? And it's super job here, Isaac, lately. You've just been bringing the good comments, the good content, the logical takes, and super chats and support. Appreciate you, Isaac. Isaac to the moon.
To the moon.
Go ahead, D-Class.
Isaac to the moon. I second that. Isaac always got some good stuff to say. Man, how you doing? Hardest working man in NFL news. Hardest working man in fantasy. How you doing, man?
I'm good, bro. Oh, my boy Reebok in the building. Joseph, this is our new follower. I don't know if you guys remember when I showed him on video. I was like, this is Reebok said he was going to be a new follower. He got 232 people in the building right now, and Reebok's one of them. Let's give Reebok a standing ovation because he's a man of his word. He said he'd become a follower moving forward when I met him at the Scott Fish Bowl in Las Vegas.
Mashed potatoes.
Reebok in the building. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, D-Class. D-Class, right?
No.
D-Class.
Yeah. You're good. You're good, man. You're good.
I
get flashbacks of Melvin Gordon whenever I hear RB is holding out. I always think about how he sat there and he lost out on everything. So I don't have too much of a take on that. Honestly, I was going to ask you a question about this best ball draft, but I mean that's my take on RB's holding out. I just go, remember Melvin Gordon? No, I don't either because he stopped playing. He held out when he shouldn't have. So
Lev Bell. When Lev Bell held out, ruined his career. He still got a big contract from the Jets, but his career was ruined. So Barkley knows that. Barkley's not holding out. He's just going to do a mini, flex or whatever for a while. But the truth is, and I wasn't feeling this way a couple days ago because I had a couple people ask me. I had some guy DM me too, and he DM'd me on Instagram. And he said, "Smitty, don't you know that Barkley's holding out?" And I was like, "Bro, like, I don't you think I know this, that he's threatening to hold out? Don't you think because I drafted him in the Scott Fish Bowl." I was like, but I don't think it's going the distance at all. Like, he's not sitting out the year. But to that guy, right. I will say that today, because, word was this was going to potentially come down to the wire, and it did, but it went in the wrong direction. It flipped in the wrong direction. There's concern, but not a lot. The concern is, will he hold out long enough to maybe create some sort of potential injury risk? That's it. He's not sitting out the year. Barkley's too smart to do that. But there is risk that wasn't really there prior to today, but would I still draft him in round 2? Absolutely. Would I draft him at the top of round 1 right now? I'm sorry, top of round 2 right now? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe he drops a few spots for me, but I don't think I drop him all that much. Jacobs, I never went. I was never in favor of drafting him anywhere near his value. Pollard, this is the best thing that could have happened to Tony Pollard. Everything going on. But the impact of Tony Pollard in terms of 2023, it's not great for his dynasty appeal, though, because you want him locked down. If he gets injured this year, he doesn't have anything waiting for him. And if he gets injured again this year, nobody's giving him a starting job with a fat contract. At best, he's going to hit free agency in 2024. The Cowboys won't even bring him back if he gets injured again and misses the entire season. And he's got to go into a cloudy situation and try and earn a job, let alone get a fat payday. So dynasty risk is definitely on the table here, but it doesn't mean he won't deliver. We love Tony Pollard. But the best thing that ever happened to Tony Pollard was, people are going to be like, oh, he didn't get a long-term deal. So 2023, He'll drop just a smidge because of that alone. Just like when Hopkins got his deal, even though everyone knew he was going to land somewhere, Hopkins' value went up because he was in the news. He's getting paid bank, to be honest. I mean, he's getting paid a handsome amount of money. Hopkins is getting paid 20. Huh?
How old is Hopkins?
Hopkins is, let's see, I'm going to get this exact. Ziggy, how old is DeAndre Hopkins?
DeAndre Hopkins is 31 years old and was born on June 6, 1992.
He's 31 years old, born on June 6th, so he just turned 31 years old. So Hopkins is he's getting paid bank, bro. And Hopkins is getting paid a $3 million incentive package if he hits 95 catches, 1050 yardage wise, and 10 tutties. He gets $3 million, and that's not exclusive. Each of those categories is $1 million, $1 million, $1 million. With escalators or whatever. So benchmarks. So Hopkins is getting paid bank, getting paid absolute bank, and I just think that I don't know what we're even talking about at this point. Pollard. So Pollard, seeing Hopkins be relevant and in the spotlight and getting paid bank is moving him up ADP boards, okay? So that's shifting around a lot of people. But what's really amazing is this guy Derrick Henry and what this 7 degrees of connection and relation, all these different things connected. So Hopkins getting paid bank and having increased value makes Henry have increased value. It's like a cobweb, spider web on all kinds of things. And when one thing raises up, the cobweb pulls the other part up. And so now all of a sudden Henry's getting vaulted because of Hopkins. Henry's going from round 3 into the top of round 2 above Tony Pollard, shoving Tony Pollard down, probably, I would guess, into the top of round 3. And now all of a sudden, we've got Tony Pollard sitting at 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 instead of 2.8, 2.9, 2.11. And for me, that's amazing. So the real winner here of the last 48 hours is kind of Tony Pollard when we're talking about all this. Overcome dropping a $4.99 hauler. Appreciate you, my guy. If you got a question, please drop something and get my attention. You didn't attach it there, but sometimes you just drop $4.99 haulers for fun, and that's because you're an amazing man. James with a $5 hauler says, I tried selling my 1.1 for $20 in my 14-team PPR redraft. Nobody wants it. I think I'm going to take Bijan and hope for Olave, London, Watson at the 2-3 turn. Now, is this collusion you're trying to promote here as you kiss that trophy? Did you buy that trophy too, James? Or is this an actual type of thing you can do with the funding that you have? Like sometimes teams can actually sell and get money back to spend on players. Like I think that might be what James is meaning. But I'd buy it for $20. I don't know about you guys. If I saw the 1.1 sitting on eBay for $20, I'd grab it if I could transition it into one of my teams. I don't know why no one's biting on that. $20 seems like a steal in a 14-team league. James, update us on what you're talking about there. Rick with a $10 hauler. Rick gets a moonshot. All $10 haulers go to the moon. So my boy Rick dropping this. What's your favorite draft slot and why? I'm in a 12-team, 3-wide receiver PPR league with 6 points per passing TD with these running backs all holding out. Would you prioritize Bijan? Who would you target in the first 5 rounds? That's a loaded question, and I'll try and answer it as quickly as I can here. Hang tight, callers. Look, give me the 3 pick. I don't want to mess around with not getting JJ, Chase, or Bijan. And even in a redraft league, I'm taking Bijan number 3 overall. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how many dirty looks I get. I don't care how many people say, Smitty, are you crazy? Like, what are you smoking? CMC, you're taking him over Cooper Kupp. I'm taking Bijan number 3 with a smile. And I'm not drafting him at his ceiling like some of you think I am. I'm drafting a man that I believe is LaDainian Tomlinson, that I believe is Marshall Faulk, that I believe is Christian McCaffrey from 3 and 4 years ago. If you remember getting the 1.1 in any of your drafts back in the CMC 3 or 4 years ago days, or the Marshall Faulk days, the LaDainian Tomlinson days, or the Priest Holm days, or the Arian Foster days, you didn't have a guy you were taking at a ceiling value when you got the 1.1. You had a laugh. You had a smile on your face when you looked around the room and you drew the number 1 overall pick and you looked around and you said, you poor saps out there, I just won the championship just getting the 1.1. That's what people forget, because no offense to JT out there and everybody that loves JT. JT was the least attractive number one overall running back and number one overall player that we had coming out of 2021, right? Because he had the least sexy running back one season of players coming into the next year and finishing as the number one RB and coming in. He didn't have that powerful, crazy, amazing season. He had the best running back season. He was the running back one walking into 2021. And people have said it. Like, I don't know if he's going to be what everybody thinks he's going to be. He was the most questioned 1.1 we'd had in a while. He didn't fit the bill for being the guy that was Marshall Faulk, for being the guy that was LT. And Bijan does. Bijan can outperform his 1.1 value like no other player in fantasy football walking into 2024 and beyond. People just don't know it yet in 2023. People are just scared to draft what they don't know what they're getting. People are scared to take a leap. People are scared that they haven't seen it yet. What have you done for me lately? Nothing yet, because he's a rookie. Smitty, he hasn't taken a snap in the NFL. Are we not in the prediction business? Are we not in the prediction game? Are you not watching a channel that you hope isn't cookie cutter and is going to tell you what he thinks is going to happen? Not based on last year. We're going to go ahead and draft this guy, and this guy. Do you want someone that's going to come out and say, oh, I love Diggs because he's done it and he's safe? Or do you want someone that says, hey, guess what? Garrett Wilson and St. Brown might actually outscore Stephon Diggs this season. There is some concern with the turmoil going on in Buffalo, enough for me to say, you know what? Breakout season's coming for Garrett Wilson. St. Brown's going to have the potential to score maybe more touchdowns than any wide receiver in the National Football League. Total touchdowns with the rushing, receiving, at least comparing to Jamar Chase. Like, that's the way that we're going to attack things here on the channel. It's not for everybody. Some people are going to take it the wrong way. Some people don't like an uncomfortable situation. Some people don't like jumping and leaping into a little bit of risk when it's cold and calculated. And so I want the 3 pick. Long-winded answer, Rick. Give me the 3 pick because I get control of my destiny, and you probably guarantee yourself Bijan. You don't know if you're going to get him at 4 or 5 or 6. If you believe you fully will, the more you work that pick down into 4, 5, 6, the closer your second-round pick is, could be better for you. So you're going to have to make that judgment call yourself, but I choose the 3 pick or the 4 pick just to guarantee myself Bijan, and I'd say give me the 3. As for strategy in a 3 wide receiver, you got to go best player available. I can't give you any sort of set, cemented in plan because that's not how I roll. And best player available does not mean take the top ranked player on the ADP suggested rank like some people think that's what I'm saying. I'm saying take the guy you believe is the biggest home run swing. Even if you're reaching 4 or 5 picks, he's the biggest home run swing with the littlest risk comparatively, a combination of risk and reward. Basically, when you're on the clock, who can win me a league? Who has the ability to absolutely climb all the way to the top of their position? And you could say that about a couple players all the way through to like round 4 and 5. You could Fields in 5 could be the number 1 player at his position. Joe Burrow in 4, number 1 player at his position. Jahmyr Gibbs in round 4 could arguably top 1 to 5 at his position. So there Walker could be top 5. It doesn't have to be number 1. Can this guy be a top 1 to 5 player at his position? Ask yourself that question every time you're on the clock. It sounds easier than it is to do, though, because people get pressured into drafting based on position. But that's my advice there. Thank you for the $10 holler. All right, who's got something? Let's go over to the Patrick. Or actually, hold on one second. I'm sorry. We've got the Frank the Tank on the line. Frank, what's up? You're live.
Hey, Smitty, what's going on, buddy?
What's up?
Hey, real quick, I know you brought it up, and I do agree with you about this. I think Tony Pollard walked away the winner on this, and I'll tell you why. Tony Pollard was a punt returner at Memphis University. The guy only had about 200 and around less than 300 yards total rushing ever in his career at Memphis. He was more of a scat back, too, and with Antonio Gibson there and all those guys were all there. People forget that. Antonio Gibson was, if you put Antonio Gibson with the Cowboys, and he just plays in a bad offense.
Yeah,
Antonio Gibson would be amazing, but they don't know how to use him over there. Ron Rivera always comes up with crazy things, ideas that, with him and things like that. And you put in like what the Cowboys are doing with Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is so grateful, man, to the Cowboys because they literally have brought him to shine when he was a 4th-round pick. and he has literally shined. And, for him, he's like, hey, I'm going to sign back, man. He's so appreciative of what the Cowboys have done for his career. So for him, it's the easy choice to come back to the Cowboys and, and continue performing and knowing that he was never really a running back at Memphis. And also one last point I want to make. The other day I was working out. I was listening to the coach from Memphis, and he said this. He said that he is so surprised that Tony Pollard is still in the league as a running back. He would never thought of using him the way that the Dallas Cowboys have used them. And he said he was so surprised that he's one of the top running backs in the NFL and performing. He was so happy for him that, what he's doing. And so, Tony Pollard, the guy, and I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. And so but I'm also being objective as well. He's really busted his butt and really has worked hard to get his contract, and the franchise tag here, and that's fine. But let's see what happens from it. But I know he's so appreciative of what he's gotten,
Yeah, I look, and I guess you're not Frank the Tank. You're just Frank the Tank in the chat saying this is not me. So we're gonna call you Frankie 2.0. Is that okay? Frank or Frankie, whatever works. So Frank the Tank, you can call in too if you want. This is why I think Zeke comes back to Dallas, says Ghost. It's possible that he comes back to Dallas. And you know what that's gonna do is it's gonna tank Tony Pollard's value to the floor. He's gonna go into round 4 potentially, bottom of round 3 if Zeke comes back. But that's good because I don't think Zeke is going to threaten anything. Now, do I want it? It's a give and a take. It's a double-edged sword. If kind of like Charbonnet going to Seattle, was it more beneficial to have Charbonnet land in Seattle than not? It ended up being the case that it was better. I wouldn't undo it if I could because I like Walker with the threat of Charbonnet better at 5.1 than I ever liked Walker, and I loved Walker better than I ever loved Walker at 15 or 14 or 12 overall. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't view Charbonnet as the threat everybody else does, not because I don't love Charbonnet, but because I can cuff them together, and I don't think Pete Carroll's doing a 50-50 thing, and I think that you'll know what's up at all times, and given that you have to cuff them, and you can cuff them, it's a match made in heaven, and Walker is potentially, even as good as Charbonnet is, doesn't mean Walker's not better. Like, people need to understand that. Smitty, you like Charbonnet so much. How are you telling me you still like Walker? Because Walker cost me almost, he went down 2 times the value down the board and some. Instead of getting drafted at 15, double that to 30. No, he's not even going near 30. He's going potentially almost another 15 spots below that now that Derrick Henry's and Hopkins are pushing everybody down even 1, 2, 3 draft slots. I truly, truly, truly believe that Walker is one of the biggest win-a-league players. You cuff him to Charbonnet. The same thing with Pollard. If something happens to this situation where Zeke comes in, then maybe Pollard goes in round 4. And we say to ourselves, Zeke is the best thing that could have ever happened to Tony Pollard in terms of this, a value, bump downward. But I'm not scared of Zeke as a shell of himself, and he looks quick in workouts and in shorts. I get all that, but Zeke's not going to hold up. His mileage is heavier than anybody in the entire National Football League by a mile in terms of the RB position. Nobody's relevant that has Zeke's workload. It's like, God, I don't know how many carries it is. It's insane, the amount of carries this guy's had. It's absolutely astronomical. So I'm not worried about it, but here's the thing is I don't think they're going to go that direction. They could. I don't think that the Dallas Cowboys bring Zeke back because they're really excited about Deuce Vaughn. They got Malik Davis. The only thing that would make me think they might look to it is because they do want to run the ball more than ever and they want to be prepared if something happens. So it's possible, but it doesn't deter me, and it only makes me excited to think about the opportunities we might have presented to us if Zeke Elliott pushes Pollard down even further. Real quickly, let me go over to Bill from Houston, and then I'm gonna go over to I think that's it. Bill from Houston, and I'll circle back around the phone line. Bill, what's up? Hello, Bill. Hello, Bill. Bill.
Hey, my bad. Can you hear me, Smitty?
Yeah, what's up, Bill? What do you got?
What's going on, man? So about the Saquon Barkley stuff going on, I just want you to confirm this with me real quick. I thought I seen a report saying that he was asking for like CMC money Now, was that true, or did I read a false report?
No, I don't think that at all. I mean, he was asking for. He even came out and said, "I'm not trying to break any franchise records. I'm not trying to break the running back market. I understand my value. I understand the running back market. I'm not looking for breaking any sort of records." The word was there's about 16 mil that he wanted. Now, who knows? We don't really know for sure what it ended up. Maybe he got pissed off and he wanted more. Maybe he walked in and said, "You want to give me 15? I said 16. Now I want 17." You know, like, I don't know if this guy went off the rails or something, and because we don't have all the back end information. But from what I heard, from what I trust, he was asking for about 16. The team was wanting to give him 13, and they were inching it up closer and closer together. Now, what it could have come down to, bro, is stuff we'll never know, or we'll find out later, that maybe they were offering him 14.5, but they were only guaranteeing a certain amount, and so therefore it wasn't really a $14.5 million. Tough to know. Tough to know.
Yeah. I think CMC is making like 12, 13 million a year. So, I mean, that's not too far from that range. But if you can't pay him around 14, 15, I mean, I don't think that's really asking too much. Do you think is he overpaying himself?
It's not, but how do you force them? How do you force a team? That's the part that's tough. But here's the crazy stat that we had earlier. With no long-term deals for Barkley, Jacobs, and Pollard, the franchise tagged RBs that came down to the 11th hour here today at 4:00 Eastern. No running back. The last time a running back signed a long-term contract worth $10 million or more per season was Nick Chubb in 2021. So that is actually pretty crazy. And if you want to say that Barkley's trying to fight for RBs or something, then maybe Barkley should have signed the first deal that we've had over $10 million per year since 2021. Maybe Barkley should have signed a $14 million deal to help trigger running backs to get paid more. Because guess what? The more we don't have running backs inking $13 and $14 million deals, the more likely we may not see them get even $11 and $12 million a deal, a year type deal. You know what I mean? Like, maybe Barkley's best assist here for the RB struggling to get paid was to accept something that would have put him back on the map above 14. You know what I mean? Like, I know he wants to get his bag, but he wasn't going to get 16. The market's not there for 16. Maybe another team potentially could have traded him or paid him 16 if he was able to get traded, you know, franchise tag traded, signed to a new deal, but that wasn't, likely to happen. I just don't, I just don't know how this is going to serve him well, because he's going to be 27 next year, and Eckler's 28, not even getting his own team to give him a long-term deal. All that Eckler's done for the Chargers, they would be the one team that would be like, look, he's earned it. We're going to give him a 2-3 year deal extension and bring him back on a 2-3 year deal. The Chargers wouldn't even do it at 27 years old, because RBs are just projected to drop off at 27, for sure 28. They start to drop off. Traditionally, Henry's the first running back in a while to really break that trend, but it's not like he's breaking a trend and leaving a path for the other RBs to do it. He's the anomaly, and so Derrick Henry entering his year 29 age season, it's a lot harder to imagine him playing healthy all year long. Hopkins certainly does help, though, because Derrick Henry facing 8-man front after 8-man front at 29 years old was not a pretty picture to paint. But now he's got Hopkins stretching the field. Maybe he stretches out more games. I think his climb into maybe even low round 1 or the 12-13 turn picks is a little high. I think that's going to be a knee-jerk reaction to vault Henry up into borderline round 1 material, ADP-wise. But I can understand him climbing to the bottom of 2. I could see myself drafting him at the 2-3 turn at like 24-25, but I have a feeling that's not even a place you're going to ever see him.
Right. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I think Saquon Barkley, he's I'm sure he is trying to look out for his fellow, running backs and stuff like that. Do you think that it's more of a big issue that he's seen how they just immediately paid Daniel Jones? That's kind of where he's could be more upset about? Or do you think it's just more running backs?
I think that they can't. A running back's got to put himself in check if he's looking at other positions. I know they want to very badly go, well, what about Hopkins? What about Danny Dimes? What about this seeing this quarterback like Joe Burrow going out and getting a God, I don't know what his contract's going to look like. It's going to be insane. Joe Burrow's contract's going to be absolutely unbelievably crazy. Let's say he goes out.
Burrow's played good without Mixon.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, I mean, he hasn't done anything without Mark.
So, if he goes out and gets 54 million a year, times let's just say 5, like he goes out and gets this $200 to $300 million deal, and Barkley can't get 16 million times 2. It's got to be very frustrating because one could argue Barkley's as important to the Giants as most quarterbacks are to their team. I wouldn't say Joe Burrow. I wouldn't say Mahomes. I wouldn't say Hurts. I wouldn't say Josh Allen. I wouldn't say Fields. I wouldn't say T-Law or Lamar, or Herbert. But you start getting past like the top 8 quarterbacks, Barkley's is important to his team, more important to his team than Danny Dimes. Like, I think you could have potentially done something differently.
100% agree.
So like it sucks to watch a quarterback go get, upward of $250+ million, which Joe Burrow's surely going to get, and this guy can't even. He's getting offered a handout, like here to hit to that scale and comparatively. But at the end of the day, bro, we cannot force teams. Hey, you better pay that guy more than you think he's worth. Like you can't do that. There could only be some sort of franchise tag, running backs excluded, or if you franchise tag an RB, maybe you got to pay him top 3 at their position or something like that. Something where you're not saying, oh, you pay them more. That's the only thing I would say. I would say that you could do something along the franchise tag, area. Like, hey, you franchise tag a player's top 3 at their position. Like that would be something I think you could do. It wouldn't be that unfair to the other players in the NFL. You know what I mean? Something a little bit different along those lines. The franchise tag was never meant to be for anybody but RBs. You know what I'm saying? Killer's just became a YouTube exclusive member. I met this man out at Stadium Swim at Circa Las Vegas. This man is an absolute monster, an absolute amazing person. And Killers, I appreciate you, my man. I'm giving you a standing ovation. I appreciate you. And he just became a member. Just a generous, amazing person. Appreciate meeting you, my man. I met so many amazing people. We got Reebok in here. We got Killers in here. And these guys, I just met some of the best people that, at this event. And we're doing, I believe, Aaron and I, the head of marketing at Stadium Swim, hopefully we'll be getting together in the next, couple months or something and organizing an event that's just for our channel. Like, do some sort of setup where we go and do a 2024 Smitty Ball, where everybody's got to bring a cane to get in. It's kind of like a suit jacket at a nice restaurant. You're required to bring a cane to get into this environment. And so expect that to maybe, be cooking here very, very soon. Appreciate you, Andy, the Patrick, Bill, hang tight real quick. D-Class, I appreciate you, Frankie 2.0. And now we got Scared Scott on the phone. Scared Scott, what are you scared about today, young man? Hello? Scared Scott, hello? You're on mute, Scott.
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't realize it. I'm scared of the Dalvin Cook situation.
You're scared of Dalvin Cook? First of all,
a $7 million offer in the Vikings. There's plus 150 odds to the Patriots. The Jets are involved. They're third in this list. Denver's fourth. There's so many implications behind it all, and I don't know what to make of it. Madison could go to nothing now. Ramondre Stevenson could go to won't be any better than a 6th-round pick if Cook goes there.
Yeah, I know you're petrified, Scott. Scott, I know you're scared Scott right now. That's why we call you Scared Scott. You're petrified. You sound petrified right now. What are you most
think about Breece Hall that the Jets are in that kind of mix?
Killa says, how do I send you a $20 so you can get more cans of Coca-Cola? You can. There should be a dollar sign right by to drop a super chat. By the way, Killers, if you drop a $20 super chat, I get up and make it rain. So we got a stack of dollar bills here to make it rain for you. Just so you know, any $20 haulers, we do a little make it rain show. And this isn't your traditional like at the club. This is a studio, family friendly, making it rain type of situation. Scared Scott, you're most petrified about what? Breece Hall? Is that what you're trying to say? You're petrified that Cook's going to come in and get paid bank to be the starter in New York?
I have a shit ton of Alexander Madison where I was grabbing him up in these early redrafts.
He's not going back to Minnesota. He's not going back to Minnesota. I mean, stranger things have happened, Scott. Stranger things have happened, but I don't think he's going back to Minnesota. I think they.
Table. Who's going to beat that after the Mixon deal?
I don't know. I'm going to check into that. I don't know that that's an exactly accurate report. I'll look into it for you. But if they're offering him more money than anybody else, he certainly would accept it, I imagine. But we'll have to see. Maybe Madison got banged up. I'm not that worried about. I haven't been drafting Madison all over the place, so I'm not that scared, Scott. I'm not that scared of Madison losing his job. We haven't been pushing Madison on this channel a whole lot. We've talked about how he's kind of got risky value at round 5, Scott. He's good in round 6, but he's not great in round 5.
I was grabbing him up everywhere in the 7th.
Well, you shouldn't have been doing that, Scott. I told you not to.
Well, when all the stuff hit on Cook, Madison in the 7th, 8th round was a hell of a
ride. That's okay. I'm not mad at the 7th and 8th round. Matthew, Matthew, appreciate you becoming a member. You've been a member for 2 months. Appreciate you, Matthew, dropping that exclusive message here. Killers became a member today. Again, to the moon, Killers. Appreciate my boy. Killers in the house. Decker dropped a $4.99 hauler. Hold on, Scott. Let me address your concerns in 1 second. I've got a super chat here that needs attending to. This is from Deckard. Deckard dropped a super right now and said $5 hauler. Thoughts on going late running back with Walker, Charbonnet, and Pacheco and McKinnon? I know you like those cuffs, but wanted to see what you thought on grabbing all 4. I love all 4, and they're all affordable, Deckard, to the point where you could go wide receiver, Joe Burrow if you wanted. So absolutely fine with that. I even like throwing Gibbs in there. Go Gibbs, Walker, Charbonnet, and you can still get Pacheco and McKinnon and have a monster trio of running backs, and you don't have to touch your first, your second round picks. So you could essentially go like, St. Brown and Olave or St. Brown and Garrett Wilson, depending on where you're drafting. If you're drafting with a bunch of grandmas, and you probably pull that off. And then you could come in and get Gibbs and Walker, and you could get Fields in round 5. Can you imagine walking out of your draft with Fields at quarterback, Gibbs and Walker, Pacheco as your triple RB stack, and having the backups and cuffs, and having St. Brown and Olave even? That would be an amazing way to go. Appreciate you, Decker, dropping that wad on screen. Overcome dropping a $5 hauler. Who are we all sleeping on? All of you? I mean, you guys are astute. I don't know that I could find a name that all of you are sleeping on, but I think the whole world is sleeping on Kenneth Walker. The best 4 picks in fantasy football. These guys right here. Burrow round 4, Gibbs in round 3-4, Walker in 4-5, and Fields in 5, sometimes even later. I mean, this is what we're talking about. These are the guys being slept on the most. And we got Killers dropping his $20 hauler.
Alert. Super chat alert. Alert. Super chat alert.
Killers dropping the $20 hauler like there's no tomorrow. Appreciate you, my man. That guy just loaded me up with another case of the Mexican Coca-Cola that your boy likes to get at the local, Costco, or there's a couple places, Smart and Final, similar place. You get that case of the Mexican Coke. Mexican Coca-Cola does a body good. I'm cutting back on having a lot of them because I'm working out. I'm trying to drop the LBs. I've been intermittent fasting, so I'm putting myself in a good position to still drink a good 1 or 2 of those a day and not have a big problem. Killers, appreciate you dropping that $20 hauler. Love having him in the building. This guy's an animal, and I know Reebok's still out there. Killers says he's working right now, so he's got to be a little careful. I am the worst thing for people's productivity at work, and I take pride in that. Nothing makes me feel better inside than people saying, Smitty, I should be working right now, but I'm watching the show. I don't know. It just makes me feel good that you guys got me in a pod in your ear, and I'm making your day a little bit better, because even if you disagree with me, even if you don't like me, the banter, the different opinions, the fact that we can all come in and talk about things from different angles, you're getting something out of this show, not to mention the phone calls. You guys can call in anytime you want. Killers can go into the bathroom or under the desk and just give us a ring. The phone number's on screen. Appreciate you, my guy, dropping that $20 holler. Overcome, appreciate you dropping that $5 holler. You've been dropping fire for a while now. Space Ricky drops a $2.99, says Barkley, $2.2 million guaranteed. Yearly was lower. So Barkley was getting $22.2 million guaranteed. I don't know that he's getting more than that next year, but the thing is, even if he gets close to it, he'll get $10 million plus that. So at the end of the day, he's going to get like $30 million if he can make it out of 2023 unscathed and go get a 2-year deal with let's say $20 million guaranteed, $18 million guaranteed. If he can go out and get that kind of deal next offseason, then it's going to be a W for him. But he has to bank on himself, and that's good for us if we're investing in Barkley. And it's also good for him showing up in the next couple of days and taking a little time to let the dust settle. But, at the end of the day, if he's banking on himself, guess who's got to get in there very, very soon and get to work? Saquon Barkley. So he decided by not signing a $20+ million guaranteed deal, he decided then and there that he had to bank on himself. A guy banking on himself doesn't just not show up and play. He's got to go out and deliver. So I firmly believe this will get resolved. Let the dust settle. He's pretty pissed off right now. You can't blame him, but he will be reporting here shortly. Let's go over to Scared Scott again. Scared Scott, let me just say this, Scared Scott. I know you're worried about what Dalvin Cook could do to somebody's and rain on somebody's parade and situation. Certainly could. Like, Dalvin Cook is not a washed up player yet, but he's probably not capable of playing 17 balls to the wall seasons. So wherever he goes, Miami's the most fitting. I think he probably wants to play there the most. I believe they're going to be in the ballpark of being the most aggressive. I've heard that. Similar to when I said Tennessee. When I was asked before I went to Vegas, I was asked in like 2, 3, 4 streams in a row, where's Hopkins going to play? Where's Hopkins going to play? What did your boy say? I said that Tennessee had a kung fu grip on Hopkins. Things could have went sideways. Things could have went 100 different directions. But if you asked me before I left for Vegas, my answer to you was Hopkins is likely going to Tennessee. We even did that Tennessee live stream when he went to visit, and they did all the artwork and stuff like that, and he was posting pictures. He had a good meeting and visit with Tennessee. If I had to say, I would say Dalvin Cook feels most likely to go to Miami, but it could certainly flip like that. And if he went back to Minnesota, I don't really care that much. Similar to Hopkins going to Tennessee, it did the least amount of fantasy damage. And I did a video a little while ago saying that we like Madison. We like Madison, but he doesn't feel long-term. Dynasty-wise, this is the best thing that could happen for us because Madison didn't have a lot of dynasty appeal because he has so much to prove anyway. He's been in the league for a while. I know he's still young, relatively young, but at the end of the day, how many years have you been in the league? How many years have you been a backup? How long is it taking you to get to this point? And while we could say the same thing about Pollard to some extent, he was in the driver's seat last year and he played phenomenal. Okay, he just got hurt, but he played phenomenal. He didn't really disappoint except for getting hurt, but he still played amazingly when he was on the field. So Madison, I don't know. Yards per carry on the career aren't the most impressive. It's not like this guy just knocked it out of the park every time he stepped on the field. He's done well sometimes. He's done well other times. He's done bad sometimes. And I didn't really have a lot invested in him. And when I talked about people drafting him in 5, I said, be careful. be careful taking him at 5. Scared Scott, you got him at 7, 8. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But if you drafted this guy in round 5, high round 5, you're playing with fire anyway.
I think I'm above 7 at all. So.
Yeah, so I don't think you have too much to be worried about. Now, if Breece Hall gets affected, if let's say Dalvin Cook signs with the New York Jets, that's bad. Like, I don't like that. It's not the end of the world for Breece Hall, but it's just not good to have that productive and efficient of a player touchdown machine, potentially.
Does it say to you that if they're pursuing him that hard, because it's obvious they're becoming very...
Are they pursuing him that hard, though, Scared Scott? I don't think they are. I think the media is trying to tell you that because they've had some interest in it. But you know what they've had interest in? Buying him cheaply to back up Breece Hall. So yeah. What have we heard? Have we heard that the Jets are coming strong with a massive, offer? No, I don't think they're even playing in the game. I think they've called him up. They pressed the button. They made a little phone call. Hey, so we got about $4 million that we could send you. No, he hangs up. He's going the other direction. Just like the Kansas City Chiefs, or more realistically, the Cleveland Browns, or anybody that was in the DeAndre Hopkins game. A lot of those were lowball offers. And if you remember, do you remember what I told you? I told every single one of you that New England wasn't getting DeAndre Hopkins. And how many people came in here running their mouths, screaming and yelling at me when they said the reason they signed Devontae Parker was to make room for DeAndre Hopkins. Just trust it, Smitty. Trust the process. No, they made a decision. There was a deductive reasoning process that you could have went through when Hopkins left New England. A deal didn't get done. There was no positivity. There was no movement toward a deal. There was a big lull and gap in between when Hopkins visited and when you heard any news at all. And they went ahead after a big amount of time and space between the visit and signing Devontae Parker. They moved forward with Parker and inked him to, a deal that saved them money up front this year, but it's still a long-term commitment and a lot of money on paper to a player with incentives, but to a player that plays a position that they were probably no longer seeking a player to get onto the roster and play wide receiver. Would Bill have entertained Hopkins on a cheap deal still? Absolutely. He would have changed his direction and said, let's add another wide receiver. But their intention of signing Devontae Parker was they were waiting, nothing was happening, they moved on. And so I think the Jets, in similar fashion, are going to have so much money that they can offer to say, hey, we want to be careful. We have Aaron Rodgers. We have a lot invested in this year, and we have a player coming off an ACL tear who's going great. He should be ready for week 1 for sure. He's for sure going to be ready for week 1. The question isn't will Breece Hall be ready for week 1. It's how many carries is he getting in week 1. And so if you're a team, if I'm the decision maker in New York, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going asking about Hopkins. I'm asking about Dalvin Cook. I'm making offers to these guys. I don't care about that Breece Hall's my starter. What I want is to have an arsenal of players at my disposal if bad things happen. But I'm not going and paying him starter money and stepping on Breece Hall's toes. I'm not going and paying him starter money when I'm not going to use him as a starter. And I'm certainly not starting him over Breece Hall. So this is more of a like, hey, Breece, do you mind if we, poke around and see if we can get you, secured and backed up just in case something happens, whatever. This is not, hey, Breece, we're bringing in a guy we're paying bank and you're going to have to compete with them. That's not the case. So I think the Jets are by default looking into it, but they're not in the game. But you never know. Stranger things have happened, my guy.
Would you start shopping Ramondre and see if you can't grab a Walker and another receiver or something like that at this point?
Start shopping Ramondre. Why? Like you're saying that like something happened to Ramondre.
Well, Vegas just moved the Patriots into the favorite role to land Cook.
For Dalvin Cook?
Yeah. Vegas just made them the favorite, the Dolphins second, the Jets third, and the Broncos fourth.
Let me see if I can find these. Not that I don't trust you, but I would love to know. Recent notable running back holdouts, by the way, from Adam Schefter. This is important information to share real quick, Scared Scott, and then I'll get back to your comment here. So hang tight. This right here are the notable holdouts for RBs. Let me put them on the screen here. Alvin Kamara 2020. Notable recent running back holdouts in light of what is now expected with Saquon and Josh Jacobs: Ezekiel Elliott 2019, Melvin Gordon 2019, Lev Bell 2018, Maurice Jones-Drew 2012, Chris Johnson 2011, Steven Jackson 2008, Larry Johnson 2007. A lot of these did not end well. Holdouts always lead to a high increase in injury risk, but what is not also told here is the changes in the NFL holdout, rules and fines. It was a lot easier to hold out back in the day because you could just have a team say, "We'll waive those fines." When a player was being fined per day, it was a joke. The player would come to the table and say, "You know what? My holdout's over. I'll sign this contract, but you waived them fees." And they're like, "Yeah, you got it. Just clear the bill. Put it on my tab." Now they're obligated. The fees cannot be removed. So very, very, very different situation. As far as the Vegas odds to land Dalvin Cook, New England Patriots, I'd have to pull that up. Where you find that, Scott? Let me go look for it. Where is it at? I'll look for it. Hold on. Vegas odds Dalvin Cook, because we don't mention, we're an underdog. We're an underdog group over here, so we're not going to mention those other names. Let's see here. Dalvin Cook, running back odds. Dolphins Super Bowl odds on have moved 2,500 to 2,000 today. Does Vegas know Dalvin Cook is coming? Does Vegas know Dalvin Cook? People in Vegas, man. He's not going to Vegas. Let's see here. Oh, to the Dolphins. Okay, I thought they were saying Vegas. Okay, that was just the Vegas line. Never mind. So yeah. Dolphins. I don't know. This was 5. That was old. Hold on. Let me find out. Vegas odds. I'm not seeing an update there, Scott. But I mean, we don't know where Dalvin's going to land. But Minnesota doesn't appear to be high on the list that you had. You had a big concern of that. Okay, this right here from Overcome. I'm a carpenter and have earbuds in my ears all day. So whenever you go live, I put the videos on odd hours. It makes the workday.
I put you on. I've been sitting here talking.
Well, yeah.
No, Jamie Eisner just tweeted out that the Patriots are now plus 150. The Dolphins
who tweeted out? Who tweeted that out?
Jamie Eisner.
Eisenberg.
And let's see. Patriots are plus 150. Dolphins are plus 200. The Jets are plus 400. Then it goes all the way up to plus 1,200.
Okay, I got it right here. Let me put it on the screen. So this is interesting. Let me put it on the screen here. Hold on. Here it is. You missed my $5 super chat. Smitty says, James. James, I'm sorry. Let me go look for it right now. Super chat. James. Here it is. Isaac. No, that was the old one. I got that one already, James. I didn't miss that one, right? I missed another one from James. James, appreciate you. Overcome, appreciate you. Wolfer dropping a $10 hauler. Isaac dropping a $5 hauler. Appreciate you. Killers, thank you for dropping your $20 hauler. Deckard, Overcome, Space Ricky, James, Rich, Isaac, James again, Rock Out, Overcome. Okay, this might be the other one that James dropped that I missed. Hold on. What is your favorite draft slot? No, that was the first one. I must have. Oh, James, here we go. The trophy goes to. Okay, I'm going to get to that. Let me put it right here, James. Appreciate your $2 hauler to let me know about your $5 hauler. You're an absolute monster. Let me put that over here and put that over here. Okay, here we go. So here are the odds, the Super Bowl odds to land Dalvin Cook that apparently just got updated. Patriots 150, Dolphins 200, Jets 400, Broncos 1,200, Cowboys 1,500, Bills 1,500, Commanders 1,500. Okay, so I mean that is interesting. So your question earlier is, do you sell Ramondre Stevenson off of this news? I mean, first of all, I don't know that this guarantees anything. You could just end up having a knee-jerk reaction to this and screwing yourself out of Ramondre. But if you're going to get Walker and a wide receiver, I'm fine with you getting Kenneth Walker. Like, I'd draft Kenneth Walker over Stevenson half the time, and half the time I'd take Stevenson, and I'd probably divide that up, right? I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket because I think both of them are amazing, so I don't mind dividing it up. I'd be okay with something like that, but if you go off selling Ramondre Stevenson off of panic and you don't get what he's worth, then you could be really screwing yourself. But am I okay with Walker and a wide receiver? It depends on the wide receiver. But technically, if you gave me Walker and Charbonnet, both for Stevenson, I would take it, because I'd probably take that anyway, because that's how much I love Kenneth Walker. But going and getting just Walker and no Charbonnet is a little risky, Scott. All right, Scott, hold on 1 second. I'm going over to the Patrick real quick. The Patrick, what do you think about these odds, the Patrick, and what do you make of this? 4 hours ago, this dropped. Patriots plus 150, Dolphins plus 200, Jets plus 400. So the Jets and Broncos, I think, are probably not in the running. This comes down to the amount of money probably being offered. So really, it does feel like it's coming down to the Dolphins and Patriots. I still think it's going to be the Dolphins. I don't think the Patriots, it makes sense. But you know what? What the Patriots do year in and year out doesn't make sense, period. Like double tight ends, Devontae Parker. Would anybody be surprised if they decided to spend a majority of their money on Dalvin Cook when you got Ramondre Stevenson instead of DeAndre Hopkins and you pull Parker in? What in the hell's going on with the... What's going on with the New England Patriots? If this is true, this is an absolute debacle, the Patrick.
I don't pay attention to the mods. This year alone taught me not to pay attention, because wasn't it about a month ago that the Browns was the odds-on favorite to land Hopkins?
Yeah, but you know they are going with the money and the news, and the deeper you get into the signing, like the closer you get, the more accurate the odds can get. You got to keep that in mind. Like in the beginning, no one knows anything, so it's like the odds are all over the place. And keep in mind, Vegas moves the odds not based on what they think is going to happen necessarily, based on what the people think, because you're going to be on both sides of the fence here, right? The way Vegas odds work is this 150 line moves based on how many people are on both sides of the fence. Vegas moves a line trying to keep an equal amount of people on both sides of the bet. And if let's say people look at this and go, oh hell no, the Dolphins are the ones that are gonna be the favorite to get him, and everybody starts piling on that and taking that, they're gonna move that line to get more people to go on the other side, because they just want to take the rate,
right?
You know, so
yeah, well,
that's why it's wrong in the beginning, because nobody knows. But we're deep into this thing right now, so I would venture to say,
I don't think it's going to be New England. I think it's either going to be the Dolphins, or I think it's going to be a team that we haven't heard yet. I don't think it's going to be the Jets. I don't think it's going to be the Broncos. So it's either going to be the Dolphins or a team we haven't heard of yet.
I agree with you. I think it probably will be the Dolphins. The Patriots, though, they don't make sense. But guess what? Taking Devontae Parker, a guy I forgot was on the roster, to be completely honest with you. I do this for a living. This is all I do. I dedicate my life to this show, to breaking news, to fantasy radio for 20 years. This is what I do professionally. Every single day. I go live more than anybody, any of you have ever seen in your life. No one goes live more than this show. We're live as soon as news breaks. But guess what? I forgot Devontae Parker was on the team. When they signed Devontae Parker, I had to seriously go, wasn't he? Oh yeah. Devontae Parker, the fact that the New England Patriots signed Devontae Parker to, this incentive-based deal, whatever, it's not that much money, Smitty. It was a significant statement that they were closing down their wide receiver room. To sign Devontae Parker instead of Hopkins and to sign Dalvin Cook when they've got Stevenson would be par for the course for the New England Patriots. You know, so
2 days before that Parker contract hit, 2 different New England beat writers called him a cat casualty. That he was suspected to be a cat casualty.
Yeah. Hey, can you hold on a second? I don't want to make Wolfer dissuaded from ever super chatting again. Wolfer says, I think my super chat is going to be faded. No, I'm sorry. We had a lot going on. Wolfer, I appreciate your super chat. Let me make it up to you. I don't want you to walk away from this experience saying I'm not super chatting a $10 hauler. Next time I'm giving him $5. I'm going to make this the best $10 you've ever spent. You're getting a $20 super chat rain dance, baby.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Attention. Wolford, I want to dedicate this moment to Wolford. Wolford, appreciate you. I've got things all over my screen. Wolford, you are the man. I appreciate you, Wolford. To the moon. Let's send him to the moon as well.
To the moon.
Give him the treatment. Give him the absolute treatment. If the money Rainmaker was working, let's see if we can put a little in for Wolford. Hold on. This thing hasn't worked in a while. But Wolford, this one's for you. We got to make it worth his while. This poor guy thought his super chat was going to go unnoticed. We got the lights on it, the flux capacitor fully loaded up. I got to hold it down because it's broken. We burned the motor out. We used it so much. Wolford, anyway, hopefully you feel appreciated at this point. Okay. Wolford, his question was, I noticed you have huge love for first and second year players, Olave, Watson, Wilson, London, all being top 5 wide receivers simply won't happen, not even top 15. What's your rationale to fade veterans? Thanks, says Wolford. Well, now I don't know that I should have celebrated all this that much, Wolford. Just kidding. So what Wolford's referencing is my Moon Man list. Let's go ahead and look at that real quick.
The Moon Men, dropping loads in outer space.
So Wolford doesn't believe that we can have Wilson, Olave, Watson, London,
Space Monsters,
Tony, Dotson, Pickens, all on this list as breakout wide receivers. But the truth of the matter is, Wolford, it's all case by case. It's not like every year my sophomore class is going to be to the moon, the entire class practically. This is a changing of the guard, an absolutely killer wide receiver, year, and there are monsters in the making. Now, Dotson, could be top 12, 15. Pickens could be 12 to 15. I'm not saying all these guys are going to be necessarily in the exact, top 10 wide receiver ranking at the end of the year or something like that. But Wilson, Olave are both top 5 potential wide receivers this year. I really believe at least top 6. One of them being top 4. I think Wilson could be number 3. I think Olave could be 5 to 7. I think Watson could be 7 to 10. I think London could be 7 to 10. And that may seem crazy to some people. I'm not saying all 4 of those guys will land. It might seem crazy to people, but I just don't think you can say because they all are sophomores or because this has never happened before. Like, it's case by case. This particular group of wide receivers is absolutely insane. Spencer dropping a $5 hauler. That's my boy Spencer. He says, make your Scott Fishbowl 13 pick live. I certainly could. Let's go ahead and pull it up real quick. Hold on. Let me make my Scott Fishbowl pick live and in person right now. So hold on. Let me see if I can plug my phone in here and hopefully it'll work. But I'm on the clock in the Scott Fishbowl. Let me get my board up and let me go ahead and make this pick live. So thank you, Spencer, for dropping the $5 hauler. Spencer's my boy, thickest skin in the game. I went at his pick a little hard. Tua, he's the guy that took Tua at, I think it was 14 overall, and JT is the number 1 running back off the board. I wonder why. He loves him so much. He's in his avatar. Biggest JT fan I know. Took JT at 11. He took Tua at 14, I believe, was the 2 picks. Wolford dropping a $5 hauler. It was no jab. I was only curious. I have been a part of the fam for only a couple months now. Wolford, you don't have to apologize for disagreeing with me either. And I'm still going to address your question. Let me just make this pick real quick, and then I'm going to get back to Wolford's comment. All right, so let me pull up the draft real quick and make my pick. I'm up in the Scott Fishbowl. I'm going to show you guys my team anyway while we're at it. So here is my Scott Fishbowl league. Okay. Here's my team, if anybody would like to see my team real quick. My team is right here. I've got Justin Fields. I've got Jordan Love. It's a super flex. I've got Barkley, Charbonnet, Jahmyr Gibbs, Alvin Kamara, Jerick McKinnon, Kenneth Walker. So I got Walker, Charbonnet. I got Barkley, Gibbs. I got Kamara. I got Zay Flowers. I got Zay Jones. I got George Pickens. I got Deebo Samuel. I got Christian Watson and Cole Kmet. This is a 0.25 per rushing attempt. Full PPR, tight end premium, super flex Scott Fishbowl draft. So kind of crazy. Let's go ahead and make a draft pick right here. Okay, so make a draft selection. I'm on the clock. Quarterbacks. I only have the 2 quarterbacks. Let's take a look at the QBs that are available. Minshew, Tyler Huntley, Davis Mills. There's no one real here of note that I want to grab. So we're going to go ahead and head on over to the RBs. I'm taking a couple wide receivers. RBs, you can start up to 5 RBs and 3 wide receivers, which is why I went running back heavy, which is why I went Fields in 1. Then I went Fields in 1, Barkley in 2, Jahmyr Gibbs in 3, and Walker in 4. And then I came back with Debo. And then I got Jordan Love. Then I got Christian Watson. Then I got Alvin Kamara. So I did pretty well, I think. Now I'm up. I'm trying to grab an RB, I think, here. What do you guys think here? There's not a lot left. I don't know if you guys can see the screen. We'll scroll down a little bit, but there's not a lot left. Jerome Ford, Cordero Patterson, Kenneth Gainwell, Chuba Hubbard, Fournette, Elliott, Mostert. God, this is bad. I could cuff Breda, I guess, to Barkley, but I don't want to pick him here. That's just way too high. Kickers are weird too. You can start 4 kickers, and Scott Fish always throws some weird scoring in just to make it unpredictable. And kickers, I think the number 1 kicker last year scored just under St. Brown, because the kicker scoring is through the roof. It's really, really strange.
Hubbard or Ford?
I don't know if I like either one of those guys.
Miles Sanders, they have to run the ball, and Miles Sanders misses 4 games a year. I think Hubbard is a good.
Maybe later, but. Let's see here. What other RBs are around? I'm trying to scroll down here. Sometimes, Mostert's not bad. It's not a bad pick here. It looks like let's see here. Let me go to the wide receivers. Maybe I go Odell here. Odell's still available. That's not bad. Odell, Curtis Samuel. I like Curtis Samuel here. Odell's not bad. I mean, I don't love Odell. I think he plays probably 7-8 games, but he's looking quick, and he always tricks you. He always makes you think it's going to be okay, and then he goes out there, and it's just an absolute disaster. Terrence Marshall is out there. That's not a bad pick. Jaden Reed, Rashee Rice.
I like Jaden Reed a lot.
Yeah, that's not a bad. I got Jordan Love, not that I need the stack, but I think I'm going to go ahead.
I like Jaden Reed too. He's a badass.
You like him over Odell though?
Yeah. Nah, I don't like him over Odell.
I mean, Odell's kind of out of place right here. I feel like Odell's kind of out of place right here. Like it's probably one of the better picks at this point. I'm going to go Odell. I'm just going to go Odell. There's other players I can draft later. Team right here looking pretty solid. I like what I got. I like what I got so far. Okay, let me get these super chats real quick, and then I gotta jump off and get ready for the 4 p.m. show. Although I guess I could just roll right into the 4 p.m. show. At this point, we got 200 people in the building. I don't know that I want to just bail and come back. Maybe we just roll into the 4 p.m. show. Hold on, let me think. Make your Scott Fishbowl 13 pick. Thank you, Spencer, for dropping that super chat. Wolfer, appreciate you. So, and Wolfer, let me get to your question right after this because it's a long one. The trophy goes to the winner each season. I just straight up offered it for $20, 1 bite to give me 20 and the 10 pick, JJ Chase, Bijan, and the 1.1. The trophy goes to the winner each season. So you literally tried to buy with cash, like circumventing the rules, James. I mean, part of me respects the hell out of that, and part of me shakes my head at the same time. But James, appreciate you super chatting. Appreciate you being here. You are an absolute monster. Thank you for super chatting about me missing your super chat. James, you still in the building? I want to make sure you got my reply. And if you got anything else, please let me know. I'd love to help you with it. Isaac says, bold take, Michael Thomas will play more games than Kadarius Toney this year. I mean, that I could see it happening. I definitely would bet against that, but I could see it happening. It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't be crazy, Overcome, appreciate your super chat again. Thank you, Spencer, again, and Paul Wolfer. Appreciate you dropping that. And just to recap with the wide receivers, I understand that it looks like we've got too many wide receivers. Again, let me show the Moon Man list.
The Moon Men, dropping loads in outer space.
I realize this does not feel likely, but this is all case by case. I'm not just going at a sophomore wide receiver. I'm actually targeting Garrett Wilson for a reason. I'm not going after a sophomore wide receiver in this list. I'm going after Chris Olave. All independently, just love every one of these guys. And like I said, will I miss on one or two of this slew of wide receivers here? Sure. Maybe Pickens gets hurt. Maybe London can't get touchdowns. Maybe Watson isn't what we thought, and we got confused, and Dobbs comes in. Like, there's certainly a possibility, but the two guys that feel absolute locked into me if they stay healthy are these two gentlemen right here. Olave feels top 5 to 7 out of all wide receivers, and Wilson feels 3 to 5. And I just don't waver on that. And when we go to the Marsmen list,
he's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars men.
That's why you see Garrett Wilson here and Olave here.
Loads dropping and spinning aimlessly in space.
And you could say same thing about rookies. Smitty, you love rookie running backs. Well, there's a reason they're on the Moonman list, because rookie running backs do land an awful lot. But these two are on the Marsman list as well. These are all the Marsmen. These are your win-a-league players in 2023. These are the guys that are absolute steals at every freaking turn in your 2023 fantasy football draft. You want to win a league? Draft Olave, Bijan, Burrow, Chase, Wilson, Hall, Gibbs, Fields. They'll all crush their ADP value in 2023. So I appreciate you, Paul, and I know it's hard to soak it in that all the wide receivers on my Moonman list happen to be sophomores, but it's not because they're sophomores, bro. It's just an amazing class. We've had classes like that before, too, where you reflect on the class and you're like, damn, that class had a great wide receiver group. Damn, that class had the quarterbacks. It's not it's not that uncommon. It was no jab. Again, no problem, Paul. Appreciate you. You can jab at it. You can definitely disagree with me, too. Don't be afraid to be like, Smitty, I don't think it's going to happen. Yep, I'm here. Smitty was asking 1.1 Bijan, JJ, Chase. Always running back heavy draft, 14-team PPR. Guess I could wait and fleece my wife on a trade again. Yeah, this is the guy, James, who fleeced his wife in a deal, called me up, I believe, and tried to give me advice on how to take his wife to the cleaners on a trade in his league, which is so savage. This guy will do anything for that trophy. Look at him. Look at him caressing that thing. That's his. No one's standing in the way of James and his Super Bowl trophy that he's got right in front of him. I would say if it's running back hungry, even if it's PPR, you're not crazy to go Bijan. Like, don't listen to anybody that says you're nuts to do it. But would I trade down if I could? Absolutely, because people won't take Bijan number 1. I think I would at least try and trade down. In worst case scenario, you trade down to 3, you get JJ or Chase. You got some kind of trade advantage, somewhere else. You moved up the 3rd rounder into the 2nd round. Like, make someone pay the price for it, and don't tell them who you want. Like, make them think it's JJ or Chase or whatever. Let them use their imagination as to, hey, you're not going to get your guy if you stay at 3. You can move up to the 1 spot, and if you can't trade, let's say, and I imagine you can trade in your league, James, because you can buy the 1.1. If you can buy the 1.1, I imagine you could trade. So trade down. Don't sell out. Trade down. Trade down, get Bijan at 1.3. But Jamar Chase, you can't go wrong. If it's PPR, you can't go wrong with Chase. I think he has 1,500 yards, 15-plus touchdowns, has a baller year. You can cuff him to Burrow pretty easily at that draft slot if you wanted to reach on Burrow. Or you just wait for Fields in round 4. Go 2-3 turn, go Chase, go Brees and Tony Pollard. This news for Tony Pollard maybe moves him down to round 2. I find it hard to believe you can't get Gibbs if you reached really high. It sucks, but it is what it is. Running back hungry league, Gibbs at 3.1. You go, don't take him earlier than 3rd round. I do not want to condone that for all of you out there. Gibbs has to remain in the 3rd round. You really should try to get him in the 4th round, but your draft slot won't allow that. So worst case scenario, you go Jamar Chase, Gibbs and Olave. I mean, that's a killer start, bro. Tony Pollard and Gibbs and Jamar Chase. Or if you think you could get lucky with Walker and Pacheco and get those guys in your 4th and 5th round, I don't know if you can. You say it's running back hungry. Use your judgment. You wouldn't be crazy at all to go Chase, Jalen Hurts, and a wide receiver. You wouldn't be crazy to do that at all. There's so many ways to go. Best player available. I wish I could tell you a certain approach, but Chase is pretty safe in PPR. I'll just say that. If it's 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex, I probably would lean Bijan. If it's 3 mandatory wide receivers, 2 mandatory running backs, and a flex, I lean Chase a little bit just because of the PPR and that it's 3 mandatory wide receivers. All right, Andy, you're live on the show. Or I've already gone to Andy. Andy, hang tight real quick, Andy. Scuba, Scuba, you're live, then I'll go back to Andy. All right, let's go over to Andy. Andy, you're live.
Yeah, I could see Jacobs. I could see holding out. I kind of agree with you that Saquon he's probably just that guy. He's going to play for whatever. But I was really impressed with Zamir White in the preseason last year, but then he was pretty much ghosted the entire season. Do you like Zamir White at all? Do you think he has a chance if Jacobs sits out, or what do you think of him?
I think Zamir White is in a bad spot if he ends up getting into the lineup anyway. You know, like if it's a bad spot for Jacobs, if Jacobs plays, and I'm not saying Jacobs can't be productive at all, but he's going to be facing 8-man front after 8-man front. Jimmy Garoppolo is not moving the chains like people think. He can't throw the football to Adams like Carr could. This organization is just, they got it all wrong. And that's why both Jacobs and Adams both did not want to play football for the Raiders this year. Adams wanted out. Adams didn't want to play. Adams said, bring me a quarterback and I'll play football here. And they brought him Jimmy G, and he said his own words, I don't agree with the direction, but I guess, I'll make it work. It is what it is type of reaction. Same reaction Barkley's kind of taking right now. He didn't want to play. He didn't want to play with Jimmy G. Completely open about this is not the direction that I wanted. That's not a match. That's not a match at all. Jimmy doesn't throw downfield. Jimmy is a first read. Let's get the ball out of my hands real quickly, because the longer Jimmy holds on to it, the more likely you're going to get a fumble, an injury, or an interception. And he's not. I'm
a Raider fan. I don't get what they're doing.
And it's not
weird.
This is not the Niners system where you're going to be able to successfully deploy. Let me just throw it to Adams at the line of scrimmage and turn him into Deebo Samuel. That's a pipe dream. But for Jacobs to not be near the line of scrimmage, for this offense to not move the chains, I don't think Zamir White just comes in and has amazing production. It's kind of like a crappy situation that you finally get Zamir White getting a shot. It's in this situation. The one thing that could change, though, is let's say Jimmy G gets hurt right away or he gets replaced right away. Not wishing injury upon him. I'm just saying if he gets out of the lineup for some reason, maybe the rookie comes in and does better, at least throwing the football down the field. Or maybe they bring in Carson Wentz. Maybe they trade for Trey Lance. Who knows? Somebody that's competent enough to throw the football down the field. Right now, that's not there. Like, Adams' value could revive, but how many games does he go through, Jimmy G? Does he play 5, 6, 7 games to where Adams, even if he does get Carson Wentz or Trey or somebody come in that can at least throw the football down the field, is it going to be